Inna Sovsun is a member of Ukraine's parliament, and she joins me live now from Kiev. Inna, thank you so much for coming onto this program. When we listen there to the sanctions that are currently being imposed on Russia and now Vladimir Putin's response to many of those sanctions, how does it make you feel? Do you think the West is doing enough to help your country and your people?
Well, first of all, what I'm thinking is that I wish I saw those sanctions in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea and started the war in Donbass, which killed 14,000 people in 8 years from 2014 to 2022. So I just wish we saw those sanctions then. And I wish, because I'm absolutely sure if we saw them 8 years ago, we wouldn't have been in this full-scale war right now as we're speaking right now. But unfortunately, now these sanctions are not nearly enough. And a Ukrainian government, the president, the parliament are asking for tougher sanctions right now, including the sanctions that would include the members of the families of those who are responsible directly for this attack on Ukraine. So that is something that we're asking for. We're asking all the countries, including Turkey, to introduce individual sanctions, to freeze the assets, but also to cancel all the visas, not to allow access and entrance to the countries that are supporting Ukraine for the people who are directly involved in war in Ukraine or their family members. And I believe that those types of sanctions will actually have a more direct impact on the people who are now killing Ukrainians, and hopefully they will make them stop in one way or another.
Inna, Turkey is one of the countries that is trying to negotiate with both sides to come to some sort of resolution. Negotiations held recently right here in Istanbul. When it comes to some of the outcomes of that meeting, do you think both sides, Ukraine and Russia, are on the right track to ending what has been a very bloody war so far?
I will tell you this, probably the biggest news after those talks in Istanbul were the news that the Russians are willing to surrender in areas around Kyiv and Chernihiv. And after that, we heard that for 24 hours, we have heard that the toughest battles taken place around Kyiv. Kyiv was attacked from air, but also on the ground, after the Russians say that they are willing to show trust in those negotiations and they are willing to retrieve some of their troops from around Kyiv. So they're not actually retrieving, they're being kicked out by the Ukrainian army, and that is indeed what is happening. So I'm sorry, I have very little trust in the talks, because we have very little trust in whatever Putin is saying and whatever he is promising. And if we can't believe that he will keep his word, that, frankly speaking, any deal is not trustworthy after all. That's why I believe that the best diplomacy efforts right now are being made by the Ukrainian army, who are doing everything they can to protect civilians, to protect our land and to protect our national interests. We are grateful to the countries who are involved in the talks, even if those talks result only in creation of the humanitarian corridors and providing humanitarian aid and relief to people in cities like Mariupol. That is worth the talks anyways. But I'm afraid that any final resolution to this conflict can only be brought on militarily. So we're still asking for all our partners, again, including Turkey, to help us win this militarily. And we're grateful for the weapons we have been receiving so far, but we need more, and we are grateful for anyone willing to, to continue supplying the Ukrainian army.
Okay, Inna Sovsun, really appreciate you speaking to us from Ukraine's capital. Thank you so much for your time.